My 20% project was on how oil affects animals. And the reason I wanted to do this project was because I'd seen pictures online about like animals being stuck in oil, and I heard about like the BP oil spill and things like that. And I was wondering how it actually happened, how it affects the environment, what companies do to clean it up, what the government does to clean it up, and that's why I did my project on it. So, um, there, there's there are five types of oil. There's very light oil. There's light oil, medium oil, very heavy oil, and heavy oil. And there are varying ranges of toxicity. There are varying ranges of damage that it can do to the environment. So, for damage to the environment, for very light oils, they're extremely toxic to the environment, and they can damage the fish, damage the animals a lot. Except they evaporate really quickly, so it's often not. There's really no point in cleaning it up. So light oils don't evaporate quickly and are hard to clean up, but don't have as much damage to the environment and don't have as much damage to the fish, so then that is worth cleaning up. Heavy oils are things that you see in pictures, like cover the animals, that cover otters and pelicans and things like that, and that's what can suffocate animals, and that's what you see in the pictures. And then very heavy oil diffuses and are extremely hard to clean up because you can't distinguish it from water and from very heavy oil. So to to prepare for these eventualities, to prepare for when oil does get spilled, because the difficulty cleanup efforts have a hard time cleaning it up. So the government has passed two major laws: the spill prevention and also the facility response plan. And the facility response plan, the spill prevention plan was aimed at trying to prevent oil to get to shores and coastal regions, and so that like beaches and docks don't get harmed, and the toxicity doesn't affect the local fishing areas. And the facility response is a requirement by the government to make various companies who are transporting oils to submit a facility response plan. And this facility response plan is like, how are they going to clean it up? Are they going to burn it? Are they going to clean it up with a skimmer? So these kind of plans are aimed at trying to make companies be responsible for cleaning it up. But when I noticed when I was researching these kind of things, is that many of the consequences of not submitting a plan often led to just pushing back the date, and if you don't meet this deadline, then this is your new deadline, and there's really no punishment for not meeting the deadline for submitting a plan. Although the government has put many plans in place, many outside groups like the EPA and things like that, and Gulf Study have to do their own studies and do their own surveys to clean up these oil spills and do their own spill responses. And so, since they're required to do it, they have three main processes. There's three things that happen during the oil spill. There's the oil spill occurs, and then the authorized group by the government does a survey, and the group does cleanup. So in the cleanup, there are four different steps. There are four different surveys. There's four different things that you have to look out for in the survey. There is the damage to resources. So they examine various fish, like resources that could be damaged, like fish, water habitats, local plant life, things like that. That could be damage to animals, such as damage to sea life, otters, pelicans, seabirds, sea animals, and then also the cost of recovery by the company. So then they analyze how much oil there is, what the resources are available, and then see how much it will cost to actually clean this up and how much they should charge the company to clean this up. And often oil spills can take years because in the study, many science groups are involved by testing the oil, testing how hard it will be to clean up. It can take years, months, and years, and to clean it up. And so, then the study has to tell the company how long it will take, how much they should invest, how much money they have to put in to actually clean up this. So when cleaning up the restoration process in cleaning up oil, there are three main steps. There's four main steps. There are primary restoration, which restores area to pre-oil spill if it's able to do that. So trying to get all the oil off and make it pre-oil spill, make the habitat pre-oil spill. The compensatory restoration is if there's damage to animals, then trying to repopulate the species, trying to get the life cycle back in place, trying to make the areas habitable and safe to fish. And then the emergency restoration is if the damage is so bad and the damage is happening so quickly, like very toxic oils, then often the cleanup will happen before the survey, and the cleanup the cleanup will happen before the survey, and there will be a rush so that to minimize damage. And then also early restoration is just like emergency restoration, and that's when the company, what if the company wants to complete it quickly, then they can also do it before the survey. And so these cleanup methods can also cause a lot of harm to the local plant life, local fish life, because many methods such as chemicals and burning can essentially fry fish inside the ocean and kill local plant life, kill local fish life. There's also skimmers that can overfish and actually catch fish inside the oil and disrupt the life of boomers and skimmers. Boomers, which are like devices inside the fish, can disrupt the system but not harm it as much. And also, so when I wanted to research this, I wanted to see what the effects were on oil to fish. So then I did some research on the fish digestive process. So the fish digestive process is very similar to like a human digestive process. It has teeth, blunt teeth for omnivorous fish, and sharp teeth for carnivorous fish. Then it has a basic digestive system with the stomach and esophagus, and then the esophagus lined with mucus, just like humans. And then there's also pancreatic tissue that secretes enzymes to digest food and like process food, and then it's released out. So the effect of oil on fish, there are loads of effect of oil on fish and effect on animals. For example, when the effect of oil on fish, it can suffocate the fish because the oil will go inside. Well, the fish will swallow the oil. The fish can breathe in the oil, and it can block up their lungs. They can suffocate, or they can starve because they can't eat because the oil is inside their lungs, is inside their stomach. And then also for pelicans and otters, otters rely on a coat to keep warm, and with the oil, it doesn't let the heat stay in, and so then they can freeze to death, and they can freeze to death. And then the pelicans, seabirds, and sea animals, the oil can coat their wings, and they won't be able to fly, and they can also drown. Also, their reproduction gets damaged. Any reproductive health can damage. Their reproductive organ can damage. They can breathe in the toxicity of the oil, and the life cycle gets impacted because certain fish die from different species, and then the entire cycle of the ocean can get impacted. So this is the harms to the animal. Can cause suffocation to otters, seabirds, and then seabirds can't fly. Otters can freeze. So I contacted a professional on what they did in the study, like what they encountered, what they hope, what they hope the government would impose more regulations on, um, what they wish that the government would add on, and all they responded was with "I don't know" 4 different times. So that wasn't very helpful.